Hi, today we're going to be looking at calculating the area of squares, rectangles and triangles. The area of any shape is the space inside the shape. Don't confuse it with the perimeter. The perimeter is the distance all the way around the shape. The area is the space that's covered inside the shape. And in order to be able to work out how much space is covered, we can't measure it in basic lines like you can with a perimeter. We have to measure it in shapes that will fit inside the main shape. What we do is we measure the area in squares. So all of your answers are going to be square answers. Let's take a look at what we're talking about. Within this square, there's only one measurement written there, because a square obviously has the same size sides all the way around. So if it's 3 centimetres there, it's going to be 3 centimetres here and here and here. So it doesn't need 3 centimetres writing everywhere. Now what we really mean is that we're going to look at imagining that there are 3 lines there and 3 lines here. So we've made squares inside the big square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's going to be 3 times 3, and that's the way that we work out the area. We multiply the length by the width. There's the formula. Area equals length times width. So that means in this case it's 3 times 3, and the answer to that is 9. We need to write units next to that. This time it was in centimetres, and these are centimetre squares. So the area of that square is 9 centimetres squared. Now we don't have to draw the squares inside every time. I only did that to show you how it works. So if we take a look at the area of this rectangle here, we've got 3 centimetres on the side and we've got 6 centimetres along the bottom. Without bothering to draw the squares inside it, the area is length times width. So that's going to be 3 times 6. It could be 6 times 3. I'm not really worried about which is the length and which is the width. It doesn't really matter. 18 is 3 times 6. 18 square centimetres. Bear in mind that in an exam it's very likely that if there are 2 marks for the question, 1 mark would be here for you to write 18, the other mark would be to make sure that you put square centimetres on the end of it like that. It will get you an extra mark if there are 2 marks available, so do check. Now below we've got a compound shape. When you have a compound shape, that's basically saying that we've got a rectangle and a square, or a rectangle and a rectangle, both kind of stuck together so that they have turned into an L shape or a U shape, or something that's not just a regular 4-sided shape. What we've got to do here is we've got to break it up into 2 different shapes. Now the first thing that's very important to notice is that we don't have measurements everywhere. Now never ever guess, and also never ever measure. In the exams it will tell you that the shape is not drawn to scale. If you were to get a ruler and measure this, it would not be 3 centimetres. So believe what the numbers say. So it might be necessary to work out what these missing sides are. Look at this horizontal side here. We know that the bottom all the way along is 8 centimetres, and we know that the top section there is 3 centimetres, and that means that to make this up to 8, that would have to be 5 centimetres. Going up the side, it's 6 centimetres high. This section is 3, so the top section has also got to be 3 to make that up to 6 centimetres. Okay, but work it out. There'll always be a way to work it out, but never guess and never measure. Now we can break this into 2 shapes in 2 different ways. I'm going to choose to do it down there. I could have done it across instead and we get exactly the same answer, so don't get hung up on which way round you do it. Just do it whichever way you want. I'm going to call this one shape A and this one shape B, and I'm going to find the area of shape A. The area of shape A is 6 times 3. Okay, so shape A is 6 times 3, which is 18. Shape B is 5 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. So the total area is the area of shape A plus the area of shape B, which is 18 plus 15. So 18 plus 15 is 33. And now at the very end of the line, make sure that we complete it by writing square centimetres on there. You don't have to write square centimetres on all these other bits as you go along, but you do need to put it at the end. Okay, so we've got a square, a rectangle, and then a combination of the two. We also need to look at how to work out the area of a triangle. A triangle is like a square or a rectangle chopped in half. Look what I mean. If I draw a little line up there and a line across here, we've got a rectangle. And the rectangle area would be 5 times 4, which would be 20. But the triangle is only half of that rectangle. And so the formula is that the area of a triangle is half of the base times the height. So that means it's half of 4, which is the base, times 5, which is the height, which means it's half of 20, which means it's 10. Excuse me. It's still square centimetres, that's not changed. Okay, so we've got the base in full, we've got the height in full, but if we just multiplied them together, we would have the area of a rectangle, so we must remember to split it in half. Now that's a right angle triangle, and that's very obviously the corner of a rectangle. This is not a right angle triangle, it's an equilateral, but any triangle that's not a right angle triangle has the same rule. It's still the area is half base times height, but you've got to be very careful about which numbers you look at. Now I've told you here that the height of that rectangle is 6. I've told you here that the base is 5, and I've told you that the length of this side is 5. You do not need to know the length of this side. They put these in exams sometimes to see whether you're going to use the right numbers. See if you can pick out which numbers matter and which numbers don't. That side there is irrelevant. What we need to know is the height of the triangle, and the height of the triangle is 6. So the area is going to be half of base times height. So that's going to be half of 5 times 6, which means it's half of 30, which means, of course, that it's 15 square centimetres. Okay, and once again, it's the same as having a large square or rectangle all the way up there, 5 by 6, and this time it could then split it into 2 halves, and that's a half of that section, and this is a half of that section, which means that overall the triangle is a half of the whole thing. So it's still half of the base times height. Okay, so area of a triangle, half base times height. Treat it like a rectangle or a square and then half it. But don't get caught out by numbers that are attached to sloping sides. They are not going to be the base or the height. They are irrelevant. Don't take any notice of them. I hope that's been helpful. There is another video available if you want to look at parallelograms, trapeziums and other kinds of shapes that are a little bit more complicated. Hope you've enjoyed watching Maths is Not a Mystery, and hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.